Imagine walking into a courtroom and seeing a corpse sitting on a throne. The air smells of decay, candles flicker against stone walls, and priests whisper nervously as accusations echo through the chamber. This was not a nightmare or a legend. In the year 897, the body of a former pope was dug out of its grave and placed on trial. This shocking event became known as the Cadaver Synod. The corpse belonged to Pope Formosus, a man who had once led the Catholic Church during a time of intense political chaos. His reign as pope had angered powerful factions within Italy. When he died, many believed the conflict would finally end. But hatred in medieval politics rarely disappeared so easily. Years later, a new pope rose to power, Pope Stephen VI. Stephen carried a deep resentment toward Formosus. To him, the former pope was not simply a rival from the past. He was a symbol of betrayal and political defeat. Stephen wanted revenge, and he wanted the world to see it. His plan was both terrifying and absurd. Stephen ordered that the grave of Formosus be opened. Under the dark soil of Rome, the corpse of the former pope was pulled from its resting place. The body, already badly decomposed, was dressed again in papal robes and placed upon a throne inside a church courtroom. The scene must have looked surreal. A dead man sat upright in ceremonial clothing while priests, nobles, and soldiers watched in silence. The body could not speak, of course, so a frightened deacon was forced to answer the accusations on behalf of the corpse. Stephen shouted charges at the dead pope, accusing him of illegally taking the papal throne and betraying church laws. Each accusation echoed through the stone hall while the lifeless body remained motionless, its empty silence making the entire spectacle even more disturbing. The verdict was predictable. The court declared the dead pope guilty. His papacy was declared invalid, and all the decisions he made during his time as pope were canceled. But the punishment did not stop there. In a brutal act meant to erase his authority forever, the three fingers used by popes to give blessings were cut from the corpse. The body was stripped of its sacred garments and dragged through the streets before being thrown into the Tiber River. Instead of strengthening Stephen VI's authority, the grotesque trial horrified the people of Rome. Rumors spread quickly, and many saw the event as a disgrace to the church. The anger of the public soon turned against the pope who had ordered the trial. Within a short time, Stephen VI himself was overthrown. He was imprisoned and later died in captivity, becoming another victim of the brutal politics of the era. Today, the Cadaver Synod remains one of the strangest and most disturbing moments in medieval history. It shows how power, revenge, and political rivalry can push even the most powerful institutions into acts that seem unbelievable centuries later. A dead man was dragged from his grave, forced to face judgment, and punished long after death, simply because hatred refused to stay buried. At first, it sounds like a dark joke or a medieval legend, but in the year 897, something truly shocking happened in the city of Rome. Church officials dug up the corpse of a former pope and placed it in a courtroom to be judged for crimes. This disturbing event later became known as the Cadaver Synod, one of the strangest trials in history. The man whose body was dragged from the grave was Pope Formosus. During his time as pope, he had made powerful enemies within the church and among political leaders in Italy. After his death, those enemies finally had their chance to take revenge. The new pope, Pope Stephen VI, despised Formosus deeply. Instead of letting the past remain buried, Stephen ordered something almost unimaginable. He commanded that the body of the former pope be exhumed from its grave. The corpse, already badly decomposed, was dressed again in papal robes and brought into a church court. It was placed on a throne as if the dead pope were still alive. The sight must have been horrifying. A rotting body sat before a crowd of priests and officials while accusations were shouted against it. Since the corpse could not defend itself, a deacon was forced to answer the charges on behalf of the dead pope. Stephen VI accused Formosus of illegally becoming pope and abusing his authority. The trial was clearly meant to humiliate the former pope and erase his legacy. As expected, the court declared the dead pope guilty. His decisions as pope were canceled and his papacy was declared invalid. But the punishment did not end there. In a shocking act, the three fingers used for papal blessings were cut off from the corpse. The body was then stripped of its sacred clothing and thrown into the Tiber River. The people of Rome were horrified by what they had witnessed. Instead of strengthening his power, the grotesque trial turned public opinion against Stephen VI. Soon after the event, he was overthrown, imprisoned, and later died in captivity. In the end, the strange trial achieved the opposite of what it intended. Later popes restored the reputation of Formosus and condemned the Cadaver Synod as a disgraceful act. Yet the story still remains one of the most bizarre moments in medieval history. proving that hatred and politics can sometimes lead to unimaginable actions, even putting a dead man on trial.